Once again, I welcome you to my world where we explore the ninth wave and the evolution of consciousness in regard to current events and maybe not so current events. And we attempt to tie them together and so that we can have some meaning in our lives when the world is going through many changes. The paradigm is obviously shifting to those that are paying attention, and that shift continues and seems to accelerate. So I bid you good morning. As I continue yesterday I started talking about the kingdom of heaven on earth. And I mentioned the Queen of England, and I got a little bit of negative response in that regard, which is fine. Today I'm going to talk about the British monarchy again. Does it equal the throne of David? Many years ago, when I was very much a fundamentalist Christian, I read a fascinating book written by a man named J.H. Allen, John Allen, who was a minister in New England. This book came out in 1902, over 100 years ago, and the title was Judah's Scepter and Joseph's Birthright. It was such a fascinating book that after reading it, I embarked on the most rapid reading of the Bible in my entire life, trying to find either scriptures that collaborated on his findings or else disagreed with them. And I came to the conclusion at that time that he was pretty much correct in his analysis, that ancient Israel, biblical Israel, I should say, under the reign of David and Solomon, that throne was actually moved and transferred to the British Empire or the British Isles. I will include a link in the description here on YouTube and probably on Facebook too, to a little bit of information about that book. This came up in our conversation on Wednesday night here at the Mary Horgan Center in relation to some of the things about the Queen currently feeling a little bit insecure in her position. There have been several pieces that I've either read or watched videos about over the past week or so in regard to that monarchy. What does that have to do with what's happening now in the ninth wave? Mr. Allen contended, as I've already indicated, that the throne of David was actually transplanted, and Jeremiah the prophet, there's a book, in the major prophets of the current 66-book Bible, King James Version. Jeremiah was a prophet over the nations, appointed by God, who was to overturn and overturn and overturn the throne until it comes to whose right it is. And it was prophesied that the scepter would not part from Judah until that time, until whose right it is takes place. And I don't know how much of the biblical story I want to get into, but Joseph, whom those of you that know anything about the Bible, Joseph was one of the sons of Israel, or Jacob, who preceded his brothers and family into Egypt and actually became second to the Pharaoh because of his ability to interpret dreams and prepare the people for the famine that was coming. And when Jacob, toward the end of his life, blessed the sons of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim, He said of Manasseh that he would be a great nation, and that of Ephraim he would be the father of a family of nations. And this book uh, about Joseph's birthright traces the family of nations to Great Britain or the British Commonwealth, and the great nation to the United States. Now, I'm not going to contend that this is absolute fact or not. It's fascinating information to me. You can either look at it or not look at it. But certainly, the British Commonwealth, at one time, the sun never set on the British Empire. And the United States, still in our day, has become one of the greatest nations insofar as influence on the entire planet. I mean, United States culture has infiltrated cultures east and west around the world. That is a fact that nobody can dispute. Well, maybe there are people that could dispute it, but I think it would be a useless, futile attempt to dispute, because it's obvious by looking at even Japanese culture or Chinese culture or a culture anywhere in the world. I mean, yes, the Islamic nations have resisted to some degree. Nevertheless, United States culture has gone around the world. But the throne. When I didn't go back and read the book. In fact, I loaned it to someone, and I don't even know, I don't think I have it anymore. I'm pretty sure I do not. But when I read the book, it was interesting that the throne of England, the coronations, took place on what is called Jacob's pillar stone. And it was a stone indigenous not to the British Isles, but to the Middle East, to the area of where Israel now exists and where ancient Judah existed. The nation of Israel, biblically, was not the same as the nation of Judah. Judah and Israel actually were separated from each other in biblical times following the death of Solomon. And it was divided between what was called the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was Judah, and it consisted of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. And the northern kingdom consisted of the remaining 10 tribes. The Levites actually fled the northern kingdom and went into the southern England. So Judah was the priestly kingdom. They did not have a land inheritance. They were the priests, and they were became part of Judah. So there were 13 tribes because Joseph got 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. And I may not be pronouncing them the way that everybody else does, but that's how I pronounce them. In any case, as I said, it's fascinating that this pillar stone, this Jacob's pillar stone, is the place of coronation of kings and monarchs in the land of England, Great Britain. And that in our current events, Great Britain there's a secessionist movement. The Scots and the Welsh both are ready to secede from Great Britain, from the United Kingdom. And of course, the Commonwealth has long since broken up, and the Queen exercises less authority. Yet, through the monetary system of central banking and the Bar Association, the Queen continues to exercise at least titular authority over modern monetary and judicial acts. The banks and the courts are very much connected to the Queen, and it affects everybody in the entire world. And in this 9th wave, the fraud that has been perpetuated and perpetrated on on the people of the world is coming to light, so that many of us are waking up and recognizing these factors. Each of us, according to the Bible, the New Testament, that are believers, are part of a royal priesthood. That's from the order of Melchizedek, who was a king and a priest of Salem, Jerusalem. And it has, perhaps, something to do with what's going on in our world today. Because the throne would not depart, or the scepter would not depart from Judah until it comes to whose right it is. Whose right is it? Well, it's the Christ consciousness whose right it is. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And that is each of us. That's you and that's me. This is what the kingdom of heaven on earth is all about. Recognizing who we are, that we are each individual sovereigns given unalienable rights by our Creator at the very time of our creation, our journeying into the far country as prodigal sons and daughters of the living God, or of Creator Spirit, or of the prime force, whatever you want to call divinity. We are children of divinity. You and I, regardless of our religion, regardless of our nationality, regardless of our race, regardless of our sex or sexual orientation, regardless of any of the things that in our modern world we have used to divide ourselves from one another, we are children of the divine. And I'm going to contend with you that you need to sit yourself on Jacob's pillar stone. And Jacob's pillar stone is where he had the dream of the angels ascending and descending from heaven. Biblical lore again. But you need to see yourself sitting on that throne and coming into your own personal sovereignty. The substitute sovereign, Queen Elizabeth, has indicated that she will probably be the last monarch to sit on that throne and rule under the old system. And I believe that's absolutely true and in perfect keeping with the ninth wave revelations and the evolution of human consciousness. Because now we are each becoming sovereigns. And the divine reigns within us as love, as truth, as the harbinger of justice, which is the harbinger of peace on earth. These ancient prophecies and these ancient revelations and these ancient stories and myths and lores and legends may have everything to do with the archetypal unfolding of human destiny and of the destiny of the very planet and of all life in the cosmos. I believe they do. You can believe what you want. I don't have all the answers, don't claim to, but I have a lot of interesting information under my belt that you never know when it's going to come out, like this whole thing of British Israelism came out in the discussion on Wednesday night, which is why I'm talking about it today. But here's the point again that I'm making in this whole message this morning. You and I are divine by our very nature. We're not simply human beings, slaves of a matrix system. We are sovereign individuals with inherent, essential powers given to us by God, and those powers are being reawakened. And the throne of David is in each of our hearts. It's in my heart, it's in your heart, as the kingdom of heaven manifests on earth during this time of ninth wave unfolding. Think about these things. It may not be of interest to you as it is to me, but becoming fully awake to your heritage is more important than it's ever been in your entire life. And as we awaken together, we change the world. And that's a beautiful thing. Namaste.